We're going to be looking at Nehemiah, who's an example. If you're starting a new ministry, if you're contemplating reviving an existing one, or in the process of expanding one because you're growing, read Nehemiah. Perhaps, if you have not considered this already, Nehemiah is an example of perseverance. In the process of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, Nehemiah faced every challenge a ministry will face. Outside interference, internal strife, stagnation, lack of motivation, lack of vision in the people, warring with those that don't want it done, and people who just could not believe he was the one called of God. Nehemiah, the book, starts off with a prayer of confession with specific sins named. Every work needs to start with prayer. Not a bless me, God, but a prayer session, days, weeks, while planning. If God is in it, you want to talk to him as much as you can about it. If God is not in it, you shouldn't want to do it. How do we know that God is in whatever it is we're trying to do? We read, we pray, we listen to the Spirit. We can have glorious visions of ourselves raising big buildings and doing mighty works and huge crowds showing up, and never once envision him in it. And if he's not in it, it makes it an exercise in futility. Nehemiah 2:17. Then said I unto them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the walls of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. Then I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. But when Sanballat, the Horonite, and Tobiah, the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem, the Arabian, heard it, they laughed us to scorn. They despised us and said, what is this thing that you do? Will ye rebel against the king? Then answered I them and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we, his servants, will arise and build. But ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. And he faced ridicule. He faced opposition, sarcasm, enmity. A tough situation to be in. How can he hear from God? How can he have the blessing on him? For they knew what was. They knew what should be. Who is he, Nehemiah, to even attempt this? That was Sanballat and Tobiah's words. But if you'll notice, in verse 18, there were some who were ready. Once they heard God's hand was good upon him, once they heard the word of the king concerning Nehemiah, they were ready to get moving and make it so. Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, they're standing out there heckling and laughing. something that most everybody goes through when they're building a work. There's always those hecklers out there. You can't do it. We can't do it. God's not in it. What are you doing? That won't work in this day and age. Some few are willing to get on board and they're willing to put in the effort. Others, nothing but derision. Outsiders trying to stand in the way. In building or reviving or growing a work, there will be opposition. Some of it even from people close to you. But there will be support as well. In most cases, though, the opposition much louder than the support. If this is you, do what Nehemiah did. Strengthen yourself in the Lord. Stand firm on what he told you and get to work. That's what Nehemiah did. In chapter 3, Nehemiah lists the workers and who did what. Everybody that helped got full credit for what they did, for their efforts, and yes, for their attitudes. Nehemiah recognized it all. Then we get to chapter 4, where the opposition is starting to take the efforts of Nehemiah serious. They're mocking their work, they're laughing at it, they're deriding them, but they're starting to see results from what Nehemiah is doing. Nehemiah 4:1. But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth. That means mad. And took great indignation and mocked the Jews. That means he was really mad. And he spake before his brethren and the army of Samaria and said, what do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned? Now Tobiah, the Ammonite, was by him, and he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. Sanballat starts mocking them, putting them down. If you've ever seen the animated Beauty and the Beast, I kind of get LaFau and, what's the other guy's name? I don't remember the other guy's name. Big guy, the hunter. I don't remember his name. But I picture those two as Sanballat and Tobiah. If a fox go up, now a fox is a very small creature, very light on its feet, not of weight of any note. And he says that even if a fox goes up this buttress, the wall is going to fall. That's how flimsy it is. What does Nehemiah do amidst the ridicule, amidst the mocking, amidst the heckling? What does Nehemiah do? He keeps on keeping on. For the hand of God was on him and on what he was doing. Nehemiah had a passion for God, had a passion for God's people, for the safety and security of his homeland. And he was blessed for his passion, for his concern, his love for God and God's people. In chapter 5, we read of the internal strife. The rich were consuming the poor. They were loaning material and money to the poor, but the interest they charged put the poor into even worse situations. Nehemiah, when he found out, he was angry. Brother adding to the ruination of brother. Children being sold into slavery because of the interest and the usury. The plight, the people, made him angry because while the Jews had been carried off into captivity, Jerusalem had been burnt, sacked, looted. And now that they're rebuilding it, the rich, those that have, and are loaning to those that don't, they're charging a very, very high interest. So Nehemiah, very angry, what's he do? He goes off and he consults with himself. He got his emotions under control, gathered his strength, got his thoughts together, and spoke in controlled, measured ways so as not to let sin creep into his heart. Nehemiah was a leader. So what happens next? Sanballat tries to get Nehemiah alone to talk. Air quotes, talk. Nehemiah refused to leave the work. He knew what would happen. Sanballat was trying to get a distraction so the others could come in and destroy the work. Sanballat then sent a man of God, again, air quotes, a man of God, to warn Nehemiah to hide and stay out of sight. God had already told Nehemiah what to do. He didn't need another prophet, another man of God. That happens a lot too. Coming and telling him how to do what God had told him to do. Nehemiah perceived this man was not of God, but was a hireling of Sanballat. Nehemiah was sharp. But not only was he sharp, Nehemiah was firm in his purpose, and he purposed in his heart to follow God, to rebuild the city of God. Nothing was going to deter him. Faithfulness, loyalty, perseverance. He had a passion. He had a mission. And he didn't wait for somebody else. He didn't pray that God would rise up a man. He stood up and said, "Here am I, Lord, send me." He didn't look at himself and say, "I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do it." No, he said, "I don't know how. I don't know what, but I know who." And Nehemiah went out and got it done. This, chapter 9, this is the point that mattered. All the building, all the work would have been for naught. Would have been for naught if this had not happened. Nehemiah 9:1. Now in the 24th day of this month, the children of Israel were assembled with fasting, with sackcloths and earth upon them. And the seed of Israel separated themselves from all strangers, stood, confessed their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. Israel responded to Nehemiah's work, to Nehemiah's passion, to Nehemiah's heart. They separated themselves from the world. They rededicated themselves to God, confessed their sin, confessed the sins of their fathers, the sins of the nation, personal, national, future, past, and present. Revival broke out. The faithfulness of Nehemiah paid off. Through all the trials, all the hard work, the sweat, the tears, the opposition, the heckling, the mocking, Nehemiah stayed faithful. Here's the best part. So did God. Nehemiah stayed faithful. God rewarded him for that faithfulness. Nehemiah's heart broke when he saw a need. A place of once great might stood as a light to the world of God, Jehovah, now was in ruins. Nehemiah saw that need. God heard him. Nehemiah in the king's court, serving the king that had taken them away and ruined everything. The king saw his countenance and said, "What's wrong, Nehemiah?" And Nehemiah said, "How can I be happy when when God's people are suffering?" God heard him. The king heard him, answered him, and allowed him to restore the place he was so upset over. And in doing so, God restored the hearts of the people. God restored his city. God restored his nation because of Nehemiah's faithfulness, Nehemiah's passion, Nehemiah's care and concern, and then Nehemiah's get it done. Through one man, through one broken heart, one man's prayers and tears, God restored the nation of Israel, the city of Jerusalem. It's amazing what God can do through one broken heart. One man committed to his will. One man willing to forsake all that God might be glorified. Nehemiah was heckled, belittled, demeaned. Nehemiah was scoffed at. Even by a man of God that didn't hear God tell Nehemiah what to do. Nehemiah didn't listen to any of them. Not everybody who comes by and says, "I'm a man of God," and gives advice is. When contemplating the call of God, the trials and the troubles ahead, read Nehemiah. Take solace in the fact that you are not alone. If God has put his hand on you and he has called you, he will rise up the support. He will be there. Whether there's opposition or not, he will be there. God will see you through if you see it through. As we are faithful, so is he faithful. If you're struggling in a ministry, stay faithful. Get back to the prayer. If there's opposition from inside the house or outside the house, get back to the prayer and keep going. If you know God has given you something, you go with it and don't worry about what anybody else has said. Nehemiah didn't. He went and rebuilt Jerusalem, and then God restored the hearts of the people. God didn't restore the hearts of the people and then send Nehemiah. It very seldom works that way. He sent one, and the people saw, then their hearts were restored. It's kind of like the journey of a thousand miles begins with the first step. Well, revival begins with the first person, the first tear, the first prayer. If you're in the middle of it and you're facing all kinds of opposition, stay true to your purpose, stay true to your mission, stay true to him. Read Nehemiah. It'll fortify you, especially when you see what he went through. A faithful man of God.